Let's go to San Antonio and hi, Felicia. What's up?
Hello.
What are you up to?
I'm at work, but, took a break.
Very, very cool. Way to go. Hey,
Yeah.
so Felicia is like in my top 3 favorite names of all time ever in the history of the world. So thank you for having that name on my show today. All right, so what's up?
So my question for you is, my husband comes from a very religious family, was kind of like was kicked out of his family, kind of brought back in. He's starting therapy, and he will be doing trauma therapy. And I probably walk that line where I ask too many questions.
Okay.
So I'm trying to find, where is that balance?
So you just mentioned a lot. So is the trauma therapy because of religious abuse, or is it because of sexual and physical abuse? Why is he seeking trauma therapy, and what does that have to do with his uber religious upbringing?
So, yes, he's one of 4. The oldest is his sister, who is, like they've told him, she's the star child. She is the favorite. Her grandkids are everything. And then then it's him.
Mm-hmm.
Jared is his name. And then it's his second younger brother, who is autistic and schizophrenic,
Mm-hmm.
and then his baby brother. And basically his sister ratted him out to get back into mom and dad's good graces when he was 21.
What did he do?
He drank alcohol and got a tattoo. I know, he's wild.
Felicia, you are calling the wrong show, honey. I got a lot of tattoos, actually. So
I was like, uh-oh.
No, you're good. Okay, so so having a beer and having a tattoo got him in trouble with his family?
Yes, they kicked him out. Don't call, don't write, don't text. Don't do any of that. He tried to commit suicide. And then it was like, oh, wait. We kind of love you, but because you don't subscribe,
mm-hmm.
you're still on the outside. So I think he was never hit or sexually, physically abused, but I think I know there's a lot of emotional.
Absolutely, yes.
Neglect, kind of. He was always the odd one out.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, even now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that they live 10 minutes away.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you this up front, okay?
Okay.
A cornerstone of his trauma therapy is going to be cutting ties with his family for a season, if not forever. And something tells me that that's going to be very challenging for him, for you, and for your family unit. Similar, you can't heal from addiction if all of your friends still deal drugs and y'all all share a house, or they all live 10 minutes away from you. And so I want you to think of trauma as, don't think of it as, the definition of trauma is a series of things that happen that overwhelm our body's response system, right? It's like a tsunami. It overwhelms it. And that usually comes not in the form of these stories, but it comes in the form of our body remembering these things. It remembers the time the bear attacked us and chewed us up and we got away. And where trauma is really, it's impossible to heal from when the bear keeps coming over to the living room. When the bear keeps coming over and coming over and coming over. So these same people that hurt him told him really destructive, misguided things about what love looks like. Love looks like get out of our lives if you have a drink and a tattoo. Love looks like God hates you. Love looks like you do life like us or we hate you. That has wreaked havoc on a well-functioning body, on a well-functioning psyche, right? And so you're going to have to at some point break ties with that crew for a while. Something tells me that he's still pretty entangled there. I would be surprised if them, quote unquote, disowning him was the sole reason he tried to take his life. What was his suicide about?
Yeah, it was right after that. He was like, he was very sheltered. So like taking care of himself was like, he didn't know how to balance a checkbook. He didn't know like these basic things, how to change his oil, when to change his oil. And I think when I've talked to him about it, it just all became too much. And the fact that his parents it was like a little bit over a year after they kicked him out.
So they never allowed him to breathe, and all of a sudden they ripped away the oxygen, and he was never able to get his feet underneath him, and he just wanted that to stop, that hurt to stop. Okay. So how do you factor into this? Y'all are married, right?
Yes, 2 years, March 12th.
Okay. And how do you get along with his mom and dad? His sister?
I don't.
You don't? Okay.
I don't.
Cool. So
my parents live in San Antonio also.
Okay.
And they've like really just accepted him, loved him.
Great.
Like we spend most of our holidays with them. But there's just this, he's very guarded of his family.
Sure, absolutely. And so what I want you to, is going to be hard for you, because for you, that's not your family. That's a couple of 3 or 4 people that continually hurt your husband, right? Like they are evil to you because they continually beat up on your husband, whether psychologically, you know what I mean? And so I want you to be, from this day forward, don't say another negative thing about them, okay? At least for until he's well, until he can be open about it, okay? You can tell him when he says, hey, I need to go see mom and dad, you can say, are you doing well? Is that a good idea for you today? It's not about them. Why would you go do that? They're the worst. Nope. It is, I love you, and is that wise for you? Same as my wife when I am at the drive-thru of some trashy establishment and I say, I would like a number 1 with extra, and she'll stop me to go, is that a wise choice right now? You know what I mean? She's not saying like she's just giving me one extra chance to think about it, right? And sometimes I'm like, yeah, you're right, I'm an idiot. And I'll just say, never mind, can I have a cup of coffee? And then sometimes I'm like, yep, I'm crashing into that brick wall, dude, right? So let's lean more towards him, okay? And this is gonna be really hard for you. And I want you to make sure you hear what I'm saying, okay?
Okay.
Don't take his healing as he enters counseling. Don't take his healing as a sign that he can't trust you. Don't take his silence or his unwillingness to talk about stuff at the beginning as a sign there's something wrong with you or your relationship. It's really easy to take that sort of silence personally. And right now, as he goes into surgery, which is what trauma counseling is, you wouldn't ask his surgeon who's giving him knee surgery to go ahead and cut your knees up too just because. So this is his surgery, and he needs you to care for him when he gets out and to also make sure that he's got a safe place to talk if and when he's ready. This means one important thing. You have to have somebody to talk to because it might not be him for a season. Okay? Do you have that?
I do.
I recommend everybody who has a spouse going to trauma counseling that they go to some form of counseling or have a close group of friends or 1 or 2 people they meet with every single week, because it's going to feel really lonely for a season. Just for a season, it's going to feel really lonely, okay? So don't beat him up about not talking to you. Don't take it personally. And I would really, you hear me say this all the time on the show, and I know I sound like a broken record, give him a place to write down things. Whether you start to get a journal and say, as you enter this, I want you to know that I love you. He's not going to always be able to hear you, but I want you to write him notes and you leave that on his pillow, and then he can write you back and leave it on your pillow. And it'll just be a back and forth journal that y'all write together, a diary y'all write back and forth together, a letter writing y'all write back and forth together. And this will be a monument to both of your healing over the next however many years. Okay? Things in that journal will be like, I see you today. I want you to know that you're loved. Your hug today allowed me to breathe a little bit deeper. I know how hard you're working, or I miss you. You were absent today, and I know that you're somewhere hard, and I want you to know that I'm here and that I love you. That's what I'm talking about in this thing, okay? had a funny memory of you today that when we first started dating, this happened, and it reminded me why I love you so much. This isn't all Pollyanna and all positive. It could be some dark stuff too. But I want him to not be able to, here's what people with trauma are good at: absorbing the good and dismissing it and just scanning the environment for the bad, for the bad, for the bad, for the bad, because they've had to. He's waiting for you to leave him also. For him to do the one wrong thing that's going to it's going to make you hit the highway. If you write it down, he can't run from it. He will see it over and over and over again. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This becomes a critical thing. When does he start going to counseling?
Next week.
Next week is the first big one. Okay. Does he want you to go with him, or does he want to do this by himself?
We've talked about like every now and then, maybe like a joint, like the both of us going. But for now, it's just he wants to do it.
Okay. I think if you get your own counselor during the season 2, after 3, 4, 5 weeks, you invite him to your session and say, I'd love for you to come visit me. And that might be a session where you can talk, y'all can start learning new languages as you're moving along here. He's going to remember stuff that he hasn't remembered in a long time. He's going to walk. This is going to be a hard season for both of you. Commit to staying anchored to him, okay?
Okay.
Do you promise?
Oh, yeah, I can do that. I mean, I just don't understand, like, the world is the worst place without him, so.
Yeah, there you go. And he needs to hear you say that. He needs to read you say that. He needs to feel you believe that. And that can be 30-second hugs to start every day. Even this morning as I was running out of the house, my wife said, I haven't got my hug yet. And that wasn't her hug. That hug was for me. And so I stopped, put everything down, and we got our 30-second hug in this morning. Okay? That's her making sure. She didn't say, hey, you look scattered today. You look like you're all over the place again. What's going on overseas has really done a number on me. That she didn't bring up any of that stuff. You want to talk about it? What are you worried about? She didn't do any of that stuff. She just said, hey, I didn't get my hug this morning. And I stopped and realized, okay, I know what she's telling me. I need to put my phone down. I need to stop scrolling. I need, right? So come up with that, with your language together that way. Remind him that he's anchored into you. And y'all are anchored into stone. You're not going anywhere, okay? My promise to you is this. If he goes through this, you go through it, and y'all do this together as best you can, there is a big, beautiful future on the back end of this for y'all. This is legacy change. This is changing family trees. This is him having the courage to stand up and say, I will not put my kids through this. I will not put my wife through this. I will not put me through this anymore. This is owning what comes next. Hey, hang on the line here. I'm going to send you guys a copy of my new book, Own Your Past, Change Your Future. Y'all can read this together. It's going to parallel his journey. It's going to give y'all some things to talk about together. And you can read a chapter, y'all can read it together, you can read it, he can read it, and then you can say, what'd you think about that chapter? It gives you an entry point into a conversation. Or he might say, that chapter's full of crap. Or he might say, you should go read chapter this, because that one really spoke to me. And then it gives y'all some play-by-play on what to do on the back end of this deal. I'm excited for this journey y'all about to go on. It is going to be hard. Don't take it personal, but stay connected. God, he's lucky to have you, Felicia. And so, as the great Cube once said, bye, Felicia.